What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Life's a Dance podcast. I am your adorable little host, Trekulata. Thank you so much for joining me on this ever-winding journey to self-exploration and figuring out what we're doing here and how to live our most authentic lives and fulfill our fullest potentials. Today, I am actually answering a question from one of my devout followers. I'm really excited about this because it's the first time I've ever done this. And we're just going to dive right in because after the episode I just posted about jealousy, she commented, "When my friends become better than me at something I love, I tend to hate myself. Is that jealousy?" And the answer to that question is no. Because jealousy is projected towards someone else, but it does stem from usually something that you're unhappy with within yourself. So while they're not one and the same, they do go hand in hand. And I really had to sit down and think about this for a minute because with jealousy, I felt like it was super easy to unwind that one and unravel it and reframe it. Because it was more outward. But when we start doing the inner work, there's a lot more, it's a lot messier and a lot more tangled. So how did we reframe the jealousy piece? We said, okay, instead of thinking to myself, I'm jealous of that person because they get to do this and they get to do that and they're accomplishing this and they're accomplishing that. Like, they don't deserve that, I should be the one, right? It's flipping that on its head and being like, you know what? I am so happy for that person and I am grateful and I'm going to take inspiration from them. I am so lucky to be surrounded by people that are doing great things and inspiring me to travel to distant places and level up my career game and my finances or whatever it might be, right? My physical health. Much easier than going on the inside with self-hatred, self-loathing, and self-criticism to unravel that because a lot of times all of that stuff comes from years, decades even, of repetitive thought patterns. Some of them have been instilled since our childhood, things like unworthiness and not being enough. I know my mom gave me a very just slightly unhealthy sense of body image, like to the point where I'm a little bit neurotic about it. So it could be any number of things. And I think the first step, it's kind of the same process as the jealousy thing, but we might need to dig a little bit deeper in order to really get to the root cause of where these feelings of comparison can come from. Because for me to just make a blanket statement like you just need to purge social media and quit the comparison game, that's nip it in the bud. For some of us, like, we use social media for very different reasons, like work or just staying in touch with our friend group in general. But understanding that there can be different triggers to comparison, self-hatred, self-loathing, and self-criticism. So a lot can come from social media, right? That's a big bucket because we're spending a lot of time on there. I guess the average for an adult is somewhere between 2 to 3 hours a day on social media. But it can come from anywhere. I mean, for me, I could be just in the pickup line picking my kids up from school and see somebody else that just got a new car and think to myself, God, why haven't I gotten there yet? And go into comparison and go into self-criticism. I mean, a lot of times I do that just when my ex-husband shows up to pick up or drop off the kids because he's the one that's, fun dad and I have to be serious military mom all the time. And, he gets to buy them all these things. And yet here I am kind of struggling to keep my daughter in her gymnastics and my other daughter in acting and all this fun stuff. So it can come from anywhere in your environment. But the very first thing that you have to do is become aware, right? Of the triggers. What are the triggers that normally set you off into that comparison mode and self-criticism? Because a lot of times our self-criticism is so hardwired into our brain that we can't separate our true selves from the self-criticizing version of ourselves that we're used to being. They're so connected and intertwined that it's hard to separate the two. So the very first skill that we need to hone and practice is becoming aware of when those thoughts of comparison come in. Because once you do that, you can step back and say, okay, am I in the gap or am I in the gain? Another very important skill that will do you, it will sing you praises and do you so many favors in life if you can really get this one down, is identifying whether or not in any given moment you are in the gap or the gain. Because when we're in the gap, nothing's ever good enough. Even when we get to a certain point, it's like, shit, now what? The horizon is always just, 10 feet out of reach. And the target is always moving just farther out. And it's never good enough. It's never enough, right? I can't. I'm not. I don't have. That's the gap. Woe is me. I'm the victim. So that's gap mentality versus gain mentality, which is, what have I already accomplished that proves that I am on my way and that I am capable and that I should be confident in my abilities to do the thing that I want to do or that this other person next to me has already done. Because I'm here to tell you right now, you are enough. You do have everything that you need, the same exact shit that's inside the person next to you. You have the same stuff. It's just everybody's got the same 24 hours in a day. How are you using it, right? How are you using your inner strengths and your inner power to create the life that you want? Are you wasting it? Scrolling on socials for 2.5 hours to 3 hours a day? And then when you get home at night, spending another 2 hours in front of the television? Because I can tell you right now, the person that you see on social media is not doing that. They are spending their time more wisely. So once we've identified and become aware of when we're in that comparison mode, we have to identify whether or not we're in the gap and the gain. And then we have to go into accountability. What have I been doing? Or what have I not been doing to fulfill my potential? Because at the end of the day, like I just said, we all get the same 24 hours in a day. So let's use them wisely and figure out, which is the very next step, figure out one action step that you can take. I don't care how small it is, to inch you just a little bit closer to your goals or towards that ideal. So if you see somebody on social media, let's say traveling, and you want to go somewhere, well, let's set a goal. Let's identify where it is you want to go. Do you want to go to the same place they do, or do you want to go somewhere else? And if so, how can you make that happen? Is it starting to save, I don't know, $50 out of every paycheck so that you can afford the flight and, book it at the end of the year so that you have to, do these things. A lot of times you can even book a hotel without even paying for it until you get there or after your stay is completed, right? So there's always something small that you can do. So like for me, if we're talking about, I have a real life example of this. Like when I watch other people dance, like let's say I'm watching a dance competition on like Dancing with the Stars, right? I can't do it. I physically cannot do it because it makes me sad that I myself am not still pursuing those things that I love to do. I was so involved in the salsa dance scene when I was living in Florida 15 years ago. It almost makes me want to cry that part of me is gone, because it brought me so much life and it made my soul feel so happy. And I just kind of let it, I didn't kind of let it go. I let it go. So what would that be for me? How do I get, and I'm not jealous of them. I'm mad at myself for not continuing to pursue the one thing that in my life that made me feel the happiest. And I do have a goal of competing in a competition one day. And I'm not a competitive person, but I want to go out and I want to win a salsa dance competition. It's just one of those things on my bucket list, right? So what can I do? Well, sign up for a dance class, bitch. Do it. Like, quit talking about it and like fucking do it. Okay, guys? Maybe what I'll do is I will find the class, I'll sign up, and I will post it so that I can prove to you that I'm taking the next step. Because I got to practice what I preach. That's what my husband always tells me anyway. Because I'm out here preaching, baby. We are out here preaching. We're doing the Lord's work. So anyway, I hope I didn't put anybody off by that, because it's not like I'm a Bible thumper or anything. But not that I mind if that's for you. But you get the point. So you got to figure out the next action step. And then from there, what I really, really want you to do is start. I think that there's something to be said for instilling these good mental habits daily. So what I want you to do is log every day, because I do this at night, every night. I read this in a book, in the Gap and the Gain book. It was to write down every night, journal, the 3 wins for the day. And it doesn't matter how small they are. Like for me, it could be as small as I put away the dishes or did the dishes even though I was exhausted. Because for me, that is a fucking win. Okay. It's instilling discipline. It's instilling good habits and reinforcing my confidence in myself and lightening my load for the next day. So that's a win. So that I can open myself up the following day to have more space and time to focus on the things that are actually important, not waking up and seeing a load of dishes in the sink. And that's just one small example. It could be a larger example. But, what is that for you? Log it every day, because this is going to get you in the habit of getting out of gap mentality and into gain mentality, which is going to really pull that comparison and self-hatred poison out from the root, which is what we need to do. Self-medicating and shit like that is and avoidance, like just not going on to social media whatsoever, is not going to necessarily cure the problem. Because the problem, again, the work takes time when it comes to our inner self-criticism, because we all have it, me included. I mean, but it's how do we overcome that? And just to do a quick review, because I know sometimes I get a little long-winded with these things. First, we have to become aware of when we go into comparison mode. Second, we need to recognize at that point, are we in the gap? Ask yourself, am I in the gap or am I in the gain? And then I think I might have actually skipped this step. Get into the gain. What have you done in the last 3 months, 6 months, a year that you can be proud of? Something that you have overcome that you are proud of. Because that in and of itself is going to remind you about how strong you are and how capable you are of doing the thing that you want to do, accomplishing the thing that you want to accomplish. So become aware. Ask, am I in the gap or the gain? Or the gain. Get into the gain, right? What are your gains that you have, something you've done in the past, 3 to 12 months that you can be proud of? And then identify that action step that you need to take. I don't care how small it is. Maybe it's waking up 10 minutes earlier just to get in, ease your way into getting up a little bit earlier so that you can accomplish the thing or have time to do the thing before your day gets crazy. Is it implementing a 5-minute meditation practice? Is it eating a healthy breakfast so you have more energy to focus throughout the day. There's little changes that you can make that there has to be something that you can do. For me, it's going to be signing up for that dance class, guys. I have been putting that shit off, and you know what? I'm fucking tired of it. So be on the lookout for an update there. Take the action step. Identify an action step, and then go and start writing down your gains. Because this is going to rewire your brain to where you don't go into comparison mode, because you are playing against yourself. The only thing you or person you are comparing yourself against is you. And that is powerful. That is very powerful. Because like when you stop giving a shit about where everybody else is and really lean into where you're at and how you can send it, you're going to start taking action. You're going to start feeling more confident. You're going to start building the momentum. And you're going to start seeing positive changes in your life, in your self-belief, and in your emotions, and your overall persona. Because when we change our energy, we change our lives. To quote Joe Dispenza. He's amazing, by the way. If you're not familiar with him, I highly recommend Googling him. He's just changed my life forever. So I hope that answers your question, dear lovely subscriber. And if you're watching this and you got something out of it, I would really love it if, and I invite you to share it with somebody else who is like-minded, or maybe suffers from or is going through something with comparison, suffers from a lot of that, self-loathing and self-hatred. This might, benefit them in some way and give them a ray of hope and some practical tips that they can use to better their mental state. On that note, I love you all. Until next time, let's dance.